bell tower. It sounds like a line from Back to the Future, but it's actually a new project that's happening right here in historic Springboro. Hi, I'm Maureen Russell Hodson, and this is Springboro Here and There. We are here at South Dayton Church along with David Wallace, and we got a bell tower here that's not where it should be.
That's correct.
Tell us what's going on here.
Well, we've started a project. We had a little issue with, we ring the bell here on a regular basis. And one of our members happened to notice that while we were ringing the bell, that the upper part of the steeple happened to be swaying with the motion of the bell as well. So we decided
not a good sign.
that's not a good sign, and we put a stop on that. So we took a look at it, a little deeper investigation, and found out that we had a lot of rotted timbers. And if you can imagine 120 years here in southwest Ohio, that we may have some issues with exposed wood and lasting forever type things. So we then started a project and began enlisting engineers and architects to figure out how we could maintain the steeple itself on the bell tower and improve that, but also maintain the historical aspect of the building. It's an iconic building. We're here in the center of Springboro, and with that, we've got the historical district that was established as in 1999 as a historical district. And so we felt our part of this was to maintain anything we could to its original form.
And you're a trustee with the church.
I am.
Big project here. And I know we were saying that people probably thousands come by this church every day, probably never really thought about what this bell tower was, but now it has really become a thing.
Yes.
Where everybody wants to come by and find out more about it.
Yes, yeah, they have. It's become, since we brought it down, it's become a focal point to a lot of pictures being taken. So we're kind of proud of that part, that people are starting to recognize that, you know, we're trying to maintain that part of history. And you mentioned that, you know, quite an involved project. It became much more than what we thought it was going to be. The more we dug into it, the worse the conditions were. And so when we originally started this, we thought a lot of things were going to be able to stay. But when we got into it and we started removing the old steel roofing, we found old shake wood shingles under it, and we decided, since that matches the side of the thing, that must have been the history from 1905 as to the way they designed it.
1905.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And so we decided, and you'll see that we went back to the shake shingles as opposed to, and got rid of the metal and kind of moved on from that.
So when we say save the bell tower, literally people are working on it, but it's not free. I mean, this is going to be a very costly project.
Yeah, and so we started a GoFundMe page, and there'll be posters around town, and people will be able to see those. There's a QR code on those if they see that and are willing to help us out. The steeple's going to go back up in a few weeks, hopefully, but that's not the end of it for us. We still have that cost moving forward for several years for us. And again, it just became a little more, it kept compounding itself. You know, people have started a lot of projects and realized that, yeah, what I thought was going to be what we started out is never what we end up with.
No, and we want everyone to take part in this, because obviously this is such an important part of not only Springboro history, but actually the placement here in historic Springboro.
Yeah.
It's the building is so historic, and I know it was called the Old Stone Church before.
Yes.
So where did that come from?
Well, as you see on the building, it's a lot of quarried limestone is the main structure of the building, and all of this limestone was sourced locally. So you add that to, we have some very iconic stained glass windows in the sanctuary itself that have very much a historical story to them. There are names and dedications to multiple people that really established Springboro back in the day.
And we know that we were founded by Quakers and the Wright family, and they're kind of tied into this church as well, right?
They are, yes. This church, original owners or builders was the Universalist church. There's some ties to the Wrights and others, and there'll be more discussion on that.
Yeah, so You mentioned that we could see the stained glass windows. You're going to be offering some tours, right?
Yes, so we've got trying to get people in to see what we've got going on here. So we're going to be here and involved in the Art Fest this weekend, the 26th, and then we'll be back and set up to do tours of the sanctuary. Hopefully by the time we get to Oktoberfest, this will already be up and in place. That's our hope right now, but that may be a push. But we're going to be doing tours with that, as well as Christmas in Springboro. So it's going to be going on. So there'll be other tours that we're going to just offer on the kind of on the fly, and we'll get the notices out through Facebook. Which, by the way, is another way to help us. It'll be on our Facebook page. There'll also be connections to that. And
what is the name of the Facebook page?
Oh, it's South Dayton Church of Christ Facebook page, and then that'll be linked to others too. So we'll see that. But also, if they just go to GoFundMe, and it's Historic Springboro, Save the Bell Tower, and anybody can find it that way as well.
And that's an easy thing to remember. Before we take a look or a peek inside, I have to ask, how will this get back where it's supposed to be? I mean, that itself is going to be a production, right?
It is. We set a crane up right here on the main street, not on Main Street, but right on our side street, and it will be lifted and put back in place. And then once it's all bolted back together, then we'll lift the bell back in and place the bell back in as well. And so we look really forward to that first ringing. So a lot of people have kind of missed that for the last couple of years, because we've been trying to fund this as best we could, but that's where we ran into, we needed help, but we had to get the thing done. We just didn't feel it safe.
It's a fundraising campaign. GoFundMe. How much are you looking for? What do you need?
We're looking to raise around $40,000. That's a little less than half of what this project is costing us, but we were able to pull the funds together for that part, and that's where we're just looking for any help we can get, whether that be personal, business, organizations. If people want to help us, we would be thrilled to have them. A little piece of history that you're investing in. Yeah, exactly.
Let's take a look. Christine Wellman is going to give us a tour of the inside, right? So let's go on in and see what Christine has.
All right, thank you.
And we just stepped inside of the church, and we're talking with Christine Wellman, who is the historian for Save the Bell Tower. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. And this seems to be a labor of love for you.
It is. In fact, when this became available, I raised my hand. I said, I want to be a part of this, because in terms of the Old Stone Church being the absolute iconic symbol of Old Springboro, this is something that I just consider very near and dear to my heart, and I think to a lot of people in Springboro.
I would agree, and we talked about the actual bell tower, but let's talk about something that's absolutely gorgeous, and also, as you said, iconic, these beautiful stained glass windows.
Absolutely. First of all, and I know that you talked a little bit about it outside, but the church was built in 1905. This was actually the second location for the Universalists, and they were the original builders of this particular building. And when they built it, they were a bit of a wealthy congregation. So because of that, they were able to build this iconic structure with not only hand-cut, crystal-cut, locally quarried limestone, but also with the imposing steeple tower that you saw outside, as well as these magnificent oversized stained glass windows. These windows, Maureen, measure 12 feet high by 10 feet wide. And
anything like them in the Dayton area, or
that one I can't speak to, but I know they were commissioned to be done by a gentleman by the name of Gerald Collins Reardon. He was out of Cincinnati. He was a nationally renowned stained glass artist, and his company is still in business.
Oh my goodness, right here in Springboro.
It's in Middletown. It's Beauvais Reardon Stained Glass. They are the longest running stained glass company in operation in the United States.
Amazing. You can see the work though right here.
Absolutely. So all of these windows absolutely tell the history of Old Springboro, because they are talking about the founders, the early organizations, or whatever else. And what's so fascinating with the Universalists, they were actually splinters, I believe you talked about, from the Quaker organization. So the very first folks that founded the Universalist religion were William Gregg, who the Gregg family came to Springboro in 1796, and Mahlon Wright. Mahlon Wright was the son of founder Jonathan Wright. They were converts from the Quaker religion. They founded this as early as 1832. They built their first church in 1841, which is down by where Grismer is. So basically on 741, they built a very simple wooden frame church that William Gregg built himself, and he had donated the land. And today, their original cemetery is still behind that church. I know.
Wow.
I know. Well, so the congregation becomes, as I said, a little more wealthy, and so they build this particular church. Each of these windows, something that is unique. So one of the windows I wanted to touch on was the one behind us, which is actually in memory of Malin, Phoebe, and Eliza Wright. As I said, Malin Wright was the son of Jonathan Wright, Springboro's founder. Phoebe and Eliza were his wives, wife number 1, wife number 2.
Oh, okay. So I thought maybe a child, but no.
No,
wives.
no,
Okay.
previous wives. Now, what's significant about this is there already was a schism in the Quaker community in 1828. That helped the fraction to build the Universalist Church. Well, quite frankly, Malin was one of the most well-documented abolitionists in this area. What we believe is that a lot of the younger Quakers were looking to other faiths that allowed them to still be a part of the Underground Railroad in a more direct route than sometimes the Quakers necessarily took upon themselves. So Malin actually had a home where the bus garage is today, and it's purported, though there's no evidence, that there were tunnels underneath there, and he was aiding the freedom seekers through that. So what our goal is to share this information with everyone in Springboro that cares for it. So we'll be doing sanctuary tours where we'll be able to take you through, talk about all of these individual windows and what they mean and the different organizations and so forth. And then we're also going to have a little bit more in-depth presentation that is going to talk about Old Springboro, its legacy in terms of the Underground Railroad, and of course how this church was the center of activities for so much. In fact, this church is so iconic that it was featured in their 1915 centennial postcards.
Oh, wonderful.
Series.
Okay.
In addition, it served as the masthead for the Springboro Star Press newspaper for many, many years. So it absolutely symbolizes Old Springboro, and we're hoping to share that with folks.
Yeah, what a legacy here. People can come through on tours, and again, remind us of when you can come through this and get an idea of what these windows look like.
Absolutely. So we want to do open our doors to all major events that are happening in downtown Springboro. So we'll starting with Art Fest this Saturday, Oktoberfest in early September, Christmas in Springboro in November, and then we'll have select other dates as well. What we'll do is we'll run the tours ad hoc, as you come in, and then on the half hour, we will have presentations in our community room regarding the history of Springboro. So at that point in time, if you'd like to donate, you could do so through the GoFundMe campaign, or of course, we'll have some donation jars on hand here.
Chris, what's a good place that people can go to get more information? I know the GoFundMe page we talked about, but if you wanted to know, again, dates of the tours, how to get more involved.
Absolutely. Facebook is going to be the best place, and you will go to South Dayton Church of Christ, their Facebook page, and we'll keep everybody updated there.
Okay, and again, we can't say enough how important this building is, how important the bell tower and these gorgeous stained glass windows are to our community. So please help become part of this campaign and really help us save, I just love Save the Bell Tower. It's a great slogan.
That's what it is.
For more information, you can go to the Facebook page, South Dayton Church of Christ,
yes.
Or you can also check out our website, ci.springboro.oh.us. We will see you here for tours and Save the Bell Tower.